proud members of the Fan First Sports Network. Going with the comparisons of Case Keenum, Geno Smith, and Will Grier. I don't think we're going to get Case Keenum just yet. Case Keenum type numbers.
You don't think
we
he's
jump
going to throw?
to 5,000?
Yeah.
We jump from 2,800 to 5,000. Let's go ahead and double it up, Dylan. Let's go.
Holgorsen literally just got done saying that he's abandoned his air raid roots.
Yeah.
So maybe not. But
Yeah.
45, 40, 35, 40. He's gonna go. It's time, people. Feel it. Day by day, he gets better and better. If we die, we die.
Man is pulling a child in that. Put him in the aisle.
Bring that trophy back to Lincoln.
Welcome in, boys and girls. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Big Red Junkies. I am BJ. This is Matt, not from prison, I promise. He's never been to prison.
Thank
This
you.
is Jed. For anyone in the government that is listening, Matt has never been to prison. I don't think he ever will be in prison. I can't say that. I can't make those promises.
It's not in the plans. See how the
Not
night
on the
goes.
promises. Not on the promises, not on the plans. This episode is brought to you by Betterhelp. We'll get into that a little bit later, but we are super excited to have them sponsoring on board. Jed, what are we breaking down today?
A lot of nerd stuff.
A lot of
numbers.
Nerds. So some of you guys might remember last offseason, and then I think towards the end of the season, we looked at it again too, just kind of looking at freshman quarterbacks, 4- and 5-star freshman quarterbacks going back to like 2016. Jed jumped into the numbers on that, and we were kind of trying to project what we should expect for Raiola's freshman season. Now we're trying to look at those numbers and look at what all of those players, or most of those players, did going into their second season. Also, if I'm not mistaken, taking a little look at first and second year of quarterbacks under Holgorsen, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Take us through what you got here, bro.
Well, so a little sort of recap of last year's show. If you looked at all the top 15 quarterbacks from, the last handful of years, like I said, back to 2016, we kind of looked at the average of all the players that had played like 500 plus snaps or 10 starts or both. And, some of the averages that those players had, they were just short of 2,500 passing yards. So we were trying to figure out, is that something that we think could be doable for Raiola in his freshman year? He ended up with just over 2,800 passing yards. Some of these he did a lot better than. The freshmen that we looked at, like completion percentage, they were averaging 58.9, and Dylan was at 67%. The touchdowns, however, he was a lot less than the average on because they had 18.7. Raiola ended up with 13. Same thing with the interceptions. It was a little bit heavy on the interceptions for Raiola.
It would have been fun to see a competition level for some of these quarterbacks, like the overall, like give them a a strength of schedule rating, I guess. That'd be kind of impossible for you to go that deep into it.
I mean, but
also
there were some
looking at-
name guys. I mean, you got Caleb
yeah.
Williams, Bo Nix, Sam Howell, Max Duggan, Trevor Lawrence, JT Daniels. I mean, Jalen Hurts. There's
Guys playing for big boy schools who have to
Exactly.
play big boy competition.
well, that's where those quarterbacks go. So
Right.
I'm more going after the level of competition, A, but B, like the talent that was around them. That's something I think when I think back about last year's season with Raiola and how excited we were about that wide receiver core, it makes me terrified for this season because I feel like the exact same way. Like thinking back about it, I'm like, oh, these guys that we're bringing in, they're going to be fucking awesome, and this is going to be great, blah, blah. And that was the exact same shit we said last year. I think they're a little more proven. We already got rid of one of them, apparently, Hardly Gilmore. Toodaloo.
He was hardly here.
He was hardly here. Don't really know what happened there. I'm sure we'll never know exactly, but no longer with the team in case you missed that. Rule made that announcement this past week. But I think when you look back at Raiola's stats, it felt like at the end of the season, I kind of felt like he underperformed, and we blamed a lot of that on Satterfield and the play calling. We blamed a lot of that on the talent around him. I think back to what we actually said preseason when we first looked at these stats and we were like, hey, could he be Adrian Martinez? That's basically exactly what he turned out to be in the front of the season.
He had less touchdowns, but, you know, I mean, you also add in a bunch of rushing touchdowns from Adrian Martinez. So,
yeah,
you know, that kind of pads his numbers.
Which there were 12 of those inside the red zone that went to a guy that's no longer here. So,
yeah.
But anyway, man, I'm excited to hear you kind of jump into these a little bit because some of these numbers get pretty exciting and they lead to something a little exciting for Mr. Dylan Raiola next year.
And so then when I went back into it and I looked to see what these same quarterbacks did their sophomore years.
All right, Junkies, let's talk for a minute. You know, as much as we love debating every snap, every coaching decision, every recruiting rumor about the Huskers, sometimes life sends you a blitz from the blind side and you just get sacked. Lately, I've been thinking about how sometimes seasonal changes can kind of feel like that. You're just not feeling the same. You're not feeling the same energy. Maybe you're feeling a little off. It can get to you. I know I've been there. And that might be, you know, a shift in the routine, longer days messing with your sleep, or maybe just that nagging feeling of not keeping up with everybody else's highlight reel. Whatever it is, it can build. That, my friends, is where our sponsor, Betterhelp, comes in. They understand that life can throw curveballs, and sometimes you just need a little help in your corner to navigate through those tough spots. Anxiety often peaks in late springtime, and BetterHelp can connect you with a licensed therapist who can provide real support right from the comfort and privacy of your own space. Think about this. 69% of BetterHelp members report improvement on anxiety symptoms after just 6 weeks of therapy on their platform. That's a significant number. It's easy to get started too. You fill out a simple questionnaire and then they match you with a licensed therapist in as little as a couple of days. If you don't click with your first match, no big deal. You can easily swap therapists anytime at no extra cost. They make sure that therapists on their platform are qualified professionals and their customer support is always there if you need anything. With over 7,000 reviews and a solid 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust to have your back. We are all here about domination on the field, but you got to have your mental game strong too. Let BetterHelp help you rule your anxiety so your anxiety doesn't rule you. Click the link you see here or go to betterhelp.com/bigredjunkies for 10% off your first month of therapy.
But looking at some of the averages that these guys, all of them got better as far as from year to year.
As you would expect to see.
And some of them were drastically better. Like touchdowns were up 34% on average from these guys. Yards was up 21, almost 22%. Completion percentage was up 7.3%. And thankfully also win-loss record was up 19% for these guys. And then interceptions was down 16%. So we figured we'd look into the projection of what Raiola could possibly be, where Raiola last year, obviously 7-6, record 67% completion percentage, 2,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. If you take this exact percentages and project what Raiola could possibly do this year, 8-4 as a possible record, over 70% completion percentage. I'll take that. I don't care what the number is. Almost 3,500 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. I would probably lead me to believe with Holgorsen's offense, and especially looking at 3 guys in particular that played under Holgorsen at both Houston and West Virginia, I'm thinking 17 touchdowns would probably be pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Along with that yardage. I would expect to see that yardage a little higher too.
I mean, it could be like, so the 3 quarterbacks that I looked at was Case Keenum, Geno Smith, and Will Grier. Will Grier pretty much had those numbers as far as passing yards, about the same as what the projection would be for Raiola at about 3,500. But Will Grier also went 34 touchdowns and 37 touchdowns. So that's why I'm kind of saying touchdown should probably be a little bit higher than that 17 average.
Scoring wise, I just think it's going to be a completely different animal. It's going to be wildly different.
Yeah.
And it's funny that, you know, we talked about Holgorsen's press conference was last week. We were kind of brushing up on a little bit of that before this show started. And Holgorsen made the joke at the beginning of it about how, well, now I know the plays. Like, you said you knew the plays after week 1. What are you talking about? Now you know the plays.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's a there's a learning curve, and he's now made it his own, and he's changed whatever language needs to be changed.
What's he going to say? I'm coaching you, but I don't know what the plays are in the playbook? Come on.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Just get out there and make me look good, guys.
Yeah, I think that football is supposed to be pointed that direction.
Yeah.
I'm better because I'm not Satterfield. That's what. The biggest exciting thing for me about this is just being able to see this is repeatable, not just in the guys that were over or under Holgorsen, but really looking back to the numbers on the 4 and 5 star guys going back to 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at this, looking at the charts that you have here, and Jed's great about getting these stats up on our Twitter account. If you're not on there, go out and follow us, Big Red Junkies, at Big Red Junkies on Twitter or X. Big Head Jed.
Big Head Jed. Yeah.
Big Head Jed.
I'll put him on under our
Yeah,
though.
BJL 747 and little Maddie from BRJ over here.
Is that what it is?
You made it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Big on Twitter.
Doesn't remember his own Twitter handle. But these numbers just by themselves, when you're looking across the board, even on the teams, even the guys that were on teams that weren't good when they were freshmen and sophomore, they improved almost single-handed, like every single one of them across the board, other than what, like 3?
Yeah.
And those are basically the ones that got hurt.
Yeah, they're well, and you could also say Jaden Daniels isn't on there, but Jaden Daniels' sophomore year was the COVID year where he only played 4 games. So
that
excuses.
makes sense.
I mean, that one's kind of. I thought about extrapolating out his numbers times 3 to make it a 12-game season, but I did actually calculate it that way. It didn't really change the number much either way, so I just get rid of him completely.
Yeah.
Because you got Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix and Sam Howell, Max Duggan, Ryan Helinski. They all had their 2020 season, but they all played in conferences that didn't give a shit and play a bunch of games. So I kept their stats in there.
I think the interesting one here to look at these, like just comparing guys that were predetermined the next huge thing going into the NFL, which is something that Raiola's been hailed as since he came out of high school, just like that. The 2 guys that really stick out to me is Caleb Williams and Trevor Lawrence. And looking at these numbers, like obviously everybody kind of knows what Caleb Williams did, but his jump between his freshman and his sophomore year, he went from just shy of what is it?
He only had 7 starts in that freshman year.
Okay, never mind.
So just
Never mind.
But it's still drastically jumping from 2,000 yards passing to 4,500 yards passing.
21 touchdowns.
Either way,
to
it's gonna
42
be
touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's the insane thing to me. And he only added 1 more interception in double the games.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence one, I mean, that one, if we can get Trevor Lawrence level stuff out of Raiola there, he went from, I guess he only threw 4 picks his freshman year.
Yeah, he was 30-4 and 36-8 in his sophomore year.
Yeah, as you kind of look through these numbers, the interceptions are really the one big negative that you see from Raiola.
Well, there's still guys on here, though, that you look at. Max Duggan, you look at JT Daniels, you look at James Blackman, that their seasons as they went on, I guess Blackman ended up as a backup, but he only threw 1 pick after 11 the year prior.
Another thing that I just noticed on the sophomore years, these 14 guys that I looked at, not a single one of them have double-digit interceptions.
No. Yeah, you factor in a second year in the system for Raiola. You factor in everything getting a little bit slower for him because, that's just what you hear of guys that come from high school to college or college to the pros. Really starts to slow down for him in the second year. You factor those things in with also having then a whole off season to get his body right, get his stuff with Holgorsen right. And it'll be interesting to see what this looks like.
Yeah, and again, comparisons of Case Keenum, Geno Smith, and Will Grier. I don't think we're going to get Case Keenum just yet. Case Keenum type numbers.
You don't think
we
he's
jump
going to
to
throw?
5,000?
Yeah.
We jump from 2,800 to 5,000. Let's go ahead and double it up, Dylan. Let's go.
Holgorsen literally just got done saying that he's abandoned his air raid roots.
Yeah.
So maybe not. But
Yeah.
Not only the yards, but 44 touchdowns in each season. I don't think we're going to get, again, Case Keenum numbers.
Yeah, but you give me Will Grier, I'm happy.
That's, Geno Smith had over 4,000 passing yards 31 touchdowns, then 42 touchdowns in year 2. You know,
There's nothing saying Dylan Raiola. There's no physical limitations for Dylan Raiola to not be Geno Smith.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's realistic.
now just out of curiosity, would you count this as year 2 under Holgorsen, or maybe like a year 1.5? Or
I just counted as year 1.
okay,
I think based on everything that we heard last year about how fast Dylan picked up the playbook and how fast Dylan processes things, and the praise that Holgorsen just last week heaped on him as, I've never been around a quarterback that processes things as quickly as he does, that understands the game at an elite level the way that he does. For him to say those things about dudes that one of them just got out of the NFL in Case Keenum, I think he's doing Allstate commercials now, and Geno Smith, who's still fighting.
those commercials are great. I love those.
They are.
Commercials. The backup.
They're pretty
Yes.
good.
But then Geno Smith, who's still fighting for a starting job at multiple places over the last 10 years, basically. If he can turn his career into that, I think he's going to do great things this year in Nebraska. My question to you is, where would you put his note? Like, where's your actual like bottom line expectation? This is where I think he's going to wind up. Is it where you set your projections? Because you haven't projected out at this. A win-loss record of 8-4, 71 plus completion percentage, 3,400 plus yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Do you think that's right in line?
I think that can be pretty close to being in line, maybe up to maybe a 3,600 yards. Touchdowns, I think, has to be over 20.
Where do you think the floor is, though? I'm not asking where the ceiling is. Where's the floor?
Okay. Floor might be this. Exactly what, maybe not the 71%. I could handle, maybe a little bit less than the 71%, but higher than what his 67% was. Maybe a 68, 69.
I look at 65 plus in college and I say I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
If you throw 10 more touchdowns on there and you only throw for 65%, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Also, I would say that you can't go much lower on the yards. I mean, maybe 3,000 total yards. Anything under 3,000, I'm going to be disappointed in the season.
Yeah. It would look different to me. Like, my expectations on this would look different if I knew and was more comfortable and confident in our running back room, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Which is why you kind of expect those numbers to be just a little bit higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like these...
Because I am more comfortable with both our offensive line and with the receivers that we have coming in.
Yeah. You eliminate the completion percentage, like take that out of it for me. These numbers are baseline for me. If we don't exceed, like you said, 20, if we don't exceed 17 touchdowns,
Oh, gosh.
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Something bad happened, like Raiola maybe didn't even play the whole season.
Stop it.
Knocking on the
Fuck off.
wood, knocking on the wood.
Again,
I
also,
would-
these
I would
numbers
really
are based on him playing every game. So, I mean, that's...
I would also say this. I think that 9 interceptions is too much. I don't think that it's going to be wild if he gets to double digits again, but like I feel like he can do a better job taking care of the ball when you look at the fact that he threw 11 total interceptions starting 3.5 years in high school.
I don't know. If we could just get the sophomore average of 25 touchdowns, I'm okay with 9 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just as long as
Keep
it's not...
it in single
Single
digits like
digits.
every other guy
Yeah.
on that list.
Yeah, just keep it in
Obviously,
single
am
digits.
I going to be upset about every single one when they happen? Absolutely. But
I don't care
cumulative
about the
over a
meaningless
season?
ones. I don't care about the meaningless ones. The 50-50 balls that don't get
That's
fought
kind of
for.
what I was going to say. If there's a bomb at the end of the half or something like that, and it just happens to get intercepted because it didn't, and it doesn't mean anything, then those are
That's something.
whatever.
You had two
it's
two
still a stat
interceptions though.
accumulator.
You had 2 interceptions on his stats last year though. They were literally because our wide receiver didn't fight hard enough for the ball.
At
Like-
least 2. It might have been 3 or
And
4.
I'm just saying, like 2 that were
Yeah.
like super controversial. Could have gone either way.
And
They gave them to the
And they still
opponent.
counted as interceptions, which is why I'm saying I'm okay with 9 as long as we're doing everything else right.
Yeah, I think if I was gonna target like where I actually think he's gonna wind up, I'd say somewhere in the 3,600 to 4,000 yard range makes a lot of sense to me.
See, I think the yards are right where they should be.
Yeah.
I think 34 to 36 is right in that ballpark.
Especially, I mean, that's a 600-yard jump.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's an extra 50 yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
That's Nayor catching every ball he's thrown.
Jesus. Only like one extra one a game for some of them. Fuck, that one in the Iowa game would have been an 80-yarder.
That's Nayor catching half of the balls he was throwing.
Yeah,
But
there you go.
we get another 50 yards against Illinois, we win that game.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. So we had some of these closer
We get
games.
that Nayor catch against Iowa. We win that game.
Yeah. So I'd be okay with an extra 50 yards a game.
Yeah.
So to
Absolutely.
basically put the number at 35,000.
I think if you look at that,
Not
though, that also
35,000, you know what I
adds.
meant.
35,000. We have a fucking hell of a season.
Whoa. Talk about record breaking.
Yeah.
They're going to waive his third year. He can go right into the NFL. He's good.
2,600 yards a
You're
game.
already rated in the career passing yards list for the NFL, so you're good to go.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.